As someone who has narrated many audio guides, I've tried to help clients not only by narrating, but help with proofreading, translation, and adaptation. My experience in the genre has shown me that many things could be done a lot better, and there are a number of avoidable mistakes companies make when developing audio guides. But first of all, why is this a problem? If an audio guide isn't engaging or interesting, visitors don't get the full experience. It makes your museum or place of interest more forgettable, and past visitors will be less likely to recommend your place to friends or family. So audio guides are essential for the long-term health of your tourist attraction. So here are 3 reasons your audio guides aren't landing. First, awful translations. In order to communicate the same thing in 2 different languages, you'll find that words are different and sentence structure is not the same. You cannot translate colloquialisms and informal speech without modifications. This is why feeding your text into a translator is a terrible idea. And you might say, we use translators. Great, but it's still not enough. In my personal experience, translations typically carry the structure of the original language, and it ends up being more of a word-for-word, phrase-for-phrase translation rather than a translation of the meaning. On top of that, the narrator will have a difficult time making sentences flow naturally. Now, a good narrator can do that, but good narration can't really make bad writing more coherent. It can just make it sound better. This is essential to get right because bad translations are not only disrespectful to the target language, they're also a slap across the face to the very people you want as visitors. It can be the difference between someone walking off or buying a book or calendar because they understood more about a particular artist, as an example. So how do you fix this? Well, the first option would be hire a proofreader, but more often than not you can just hire the narrator to do this, or at the very least get somebody who's a native speaker of the target language to read it, to ideally read it out loud to make sure everything makes sense. The other option is, rather than doing a translation, do a transcreation. This means rewriting the script in the target language rather than translating. This is understandably a longer process, but if you think that your audio guide is going to be there for 10, 20, 30, maybe even more years, then it makes sense to do the upfront investment and it'll pay dividends later. The second problem, your script is written to be read and not spoken. Even if you don't have issues of translation, a script can look like a great document. But spoken and written language are 2 very different things. If your script is written by an expert in the subject, they'll understandably take a more academic approach to writing it. The issue is when this gets converted into audio, it can be overwhelming. It can feel like an avalanche of information, and we can only really absorb so much audible information in a period of time. Because when we read something, we can take things at our own pace. But when we listen to something, we're at the mercy of whoever's talking to us. Remember, we can only take in so much information in a certain period of time. This one has a somewhat similar solution to the issue with bad translation. Proofreading or maybe even rewriting it would be best. Reason number 3, poor narration quality. Now, I'm not just talking about audio quality because of course it helps when your narrator has a high-quality home studio. Kind of like me, but I'm actually talking more about storytelling quality. Many things that happen in the production process can really get in the way of a narrator's ability to perform, and it's often not the narrator's fault. In reality, poor narration is often the result of problems that occurred before the narrator even opened his mouth, and frankly, before the narrator even got the job in the first place. Bad script writing, terrible translations, awkward clients who don't necessarily want to change the text to adapt to the audio guide. There are a bunch of reasons, a bunch of things that can happen that really get in the way of a narration. Now, yes, there are narrators who are very robotic in their delivery and are not great storytellers, but more often than not, it's not their fault. Narrators are not text-to-speech engines. We are storytellers, and every object, person, or artwork has a story to tell. And if you cut corners and cut costs, you end up compromising the final result because you just end up clipping our wings. If the text is bad, there's only so much we can do. And while I will say that I'm proud that I've been able to take not-so-great scripts and turn them into interesting narrations, just imagine what a great script can do. You put a great script and a great narrator together, and you're cooking. The result is an engaging, interesting and entertaining audio guide that will inspire listeners and perhaps make visitors want to buy a book or a calendar, and maybe they'll want to stay at your restaurant, or if you have a hotel, maybe they'll want to book the night. These are all things that can really add to the experience for visitors and will help make your place just more interesting, more memorable, and it'll make people more enthusiastic about it. And ultimately, I imagine that's what you want, right? I mean, you do want people to visit your place, I assume. You may have gathered that I am an audio guide narrator. I live in Italy and I'm fluent in Italian. I've voiced audio guides, commercials, corporate narrations, documentaries, video games, so if that interests you and you'd like to work with me, link is in the description.